There's
Yeah.
so much that goes into a home over such a long period of time. There's any number of delays that can happen along the road. I have done hundreds of deals across 4 different builders, and I'd say 95% of my buyers go in-house, and the
Yep.
5% that don't, it feels like it's inevitable that there's going to be some sort of last-minute headache. When you're getting ready to sign the contract, if you do not trust that person, you're going to have a bad time. It is still important to work with somebody that you like, that you trust, that you feel like you're in good hands with.
Sure.
Welcome to the DFW New Home Podcast, the podcast where 2 realtors and new home experts share their insights on the exciting journey of buying and building new construction homes. We know that buying a new home can be daunting, but we're here to make the process more approachable, informative, and enjoyable. Join us every week for insights, inspiration, and a little bit of fun on your journey to building your dream home.
All righty. Hey, before we get to start recording, we get to celebrate because Megan passed her test,
Yay!
which means she now is like the expert real estate agent and knows everything she needs to know about selling everything that you could ever want to buy.
Yeah, that's what that means.
We're so sarcastic. What that means is that she now has the license to learn, and she already knows, but it's going to be phenomenal. So, and you passed on the first time, which is honestly, so like a lot of people don't pass on the first time. So congratulations on that one.
Yeah, I heard that it was a really difficult test. Luckily, I mean, I've been working in the industry for almost a decade. So a lot of the knowledge is transferable, thank goodness.
Yep.
And a lot of it's stuff that I probably won't ever need to use again, like implements, growing crops.
Meets and bounds. Hey, do you know how many feet are in an acre?
Okay, 43,560.
43,560. Listen, if that's the only thing that you got out of that, it's ingrained in your head. I don't know about you, and we'll get into our episode here in a second. But when I took my test, it was in like a creepy back room of somebody's office, and it was like such a weird experience.
Mine was not bad. It was a testing center at a community college, and I got to do it on a computer. But they had to check. They like checked my earrings. They checked my necklace, like to make sure I wasn't sneaking in like tiny little cheat sheets.
Oh yeah, they take all your cell phone, take your cell phone, take your watch, take everything out of your pockets.
Yep.
Yeah, mine was at somebody's like insurance office, and he's like, "Yeah, I run a testing center in the back." I'm like, "This is not sketchy at all, at all. This is not sketchy." So,
better you than me.
But today is going to be a fun one. So we're going to do a little bit of FAQ when it comes to new construction homes. So we've kind of compiled a list of some things. Probably some of these honestly will become their own episodes. But we want to walk through this like FAQ because people are asking. So I think it's important. So you want to give the first one? You want me to give the first one? How do you want to go?
You go ahead and go first.
Okay. I'm going to ask you this question and you give me the answer. So let's talk about the overwhelming comment I got a ton was warranty process. So people want to know, what is the warranty process like on a new construction home?
So the average builder is going to have what we call a 1, 2, and 10-year warranty. Some builders might have something a little bit extra than that or a little bit less than that, but typically you're going to have a 1-year warranty on workmanship and materials. So if it was installed incorrectly or there's a defect in the material itself, that's covered for the first year. There's a 2-year warranty on major mechanicals. So that is HVAC, plumbing, electrical, but it's the stuff in the walls. It's not the fixtures. So if you have a leak in the wall, that's covered. If you have a leaky faucet, that is not. And then a 10-year on structural. So that would be foundation and framing. Can you tell I've given that description many times?
Yeah. And that's the truth of most builders. What is probably, I would say 60-40 on the also thing that I would say is most builders, honestly, they outsource their warranty to a third party. There's a handful of builders here in DFW that I know of that service warranty in-house, but majority of them actually outsource to a third party company, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And here I will say the thing that like maybe builders don't want me to say, but it needs to be said. If we're honest, sometimes the warranty process is a little bit difficult. Would you agree?
I would definitely agree with that. I'd say sometimes it's the area for the most growth. Let's put it that way, the corporate speak.
I love that. Like, we're going to circle back for an area of most growth.
Area. Yeah. Yeah.
I like I believe, we believe in new construction. Obviously, that's what we, love to sell and love to help people with. There are areas for growth, and one of those areas for growth, in my opinion, is how we do warranty. A lot of builders get that wrong, and it becomes a headache, and then it just becomes this like weird back and forth, question of, is this covered? Is it not covered? Can we get somebody out here? Can we not get somebody out here? So let's help everybody be better, but also let's help
Yeah.
people just understand the expectations. Like, it's like customer service. It's gonna be a little difficult at times.
Yeah. And Zach, what is your opinion on builders that have in-house warranty versus builders who have third-party warranty?
Honestly, like, I really like builders that warranty their own product,
Me too.
because for a lot of those builders, it's not just the company. They attach that warranty to the, like, individual building supervisor that built your home. So as long as they're with the company, they are usually your contact. So they're the person that supervised everything that happened with your home. And I think it just goes a little bit better, because the other thing that's true too is, when it, at least in my experience, the companies that keep it in-house, they tie builder bonuses to warranty work. So, like, not just,
Mm,
it's not whether or not you get calls, it's how efficiently, like, how those things are handled, right? So when it's handled in-house, I think that makes it a little bit better. It feels like it elevates the product, at least in my opinion. Some people are like, oh, they don't
mhm.
trust somebody to come in and do it. No, it's not that. It's they stand behind their work. And honestly, I wish more builders had the capacity to
Yeah.
warranty their own stuff. What do you think?
To me, yeah, I think it's kind of pride of ownership, where
Yeah,
if you're the builder that built that home, then and you're also going to be doing the warranty on it, or if you do have, maybe there's a dedicated warranty manager but still works for the company. It's like you work with that person all the time, and if you build bad houses, you're going to hear about it from them.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Well,
I do kind of like when they have the in-house warranty. I think it
and,
elevates that process.
and I'll wrap it up with this thought, because, like I said, I think this could become its own episode in and of itself. But when that happens, there's a little bit more leniency is maybe not the right word, but there's a little bit more flexibility in what can be done versus when it's being outsourced to a third party
Yes.
company,
I
right?
would agree
So,
with
like, when
that.
the
The third parties are very cut and dry, like, this is what the rule book says, and
correct,
the corporation's gonna be a little bit more like, "Hey, I see the people involved, the customer service, we want these people to buy more homes from us or refer us to people in the future." So,
correct.
yeah, I would
And
agree that there's more leniency in how the warranty rules are applied.
And that's the space too where, like, I think the good builders recognize, hey, a little bit extra money spent here goes a long way for the marketing and for
Mhm.
just people feeling good about their house, right? So if builders, if you're watching this, service your own warranties in house, please. So we'll leave it at
Yes.
that. Next FAQ that people are always asking about: is there a mud and is there a PID? What's the situation on that in most new communities? What do you think?
I'd say if there isn't one, you're probably gonna see it in the advertising.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna see on the signs that point you, "Hey, neighborhood this way, no mud, no pit." Like,
Yep.
they'll be blaring it from the rooftops if there isn't one. So,
Yep.
if you're not seeing that, ask anyways. Um, Typically in the contracts legally, there has to be an addendum in there that at some point says that it is in a special
Taxing district.
public improvement district or a
Yep.
municipal utility district. That's what PID and MUD stand for.
Yep.
But, not everyone will go through the contract with you. Not everyone will go through their own contract. So,
Yeah. And and those are things too, like, so if you don't know, muds and PIDs, like, at their base level, they're taxes, right? It's the taxes that pay
mhm,
for the road improvements and things like that, within those developments. But yeah, most new developments that are like master plan communities have some sort of mud and PID attached to them. And Megan's right. If they don't have it, it is the biggest piece of their marketing. I'm like, hey, we have no mud, no PID, and lower tax rates, because here in Texas, we all definitely care about property tax rates. I would also say too, within the mud and the pit, I've seen communities where it changes based on lot size and phase that you buy in. So,
that's
like,
true
you
as
buy
well.
you buy a bigger lot, or you buy in a later phase, you might be paying more on that. So I would say make sure you know that. Secondarily, the other piece of that is HOA, right? You would say 90% of new communities have some sort of
Yeah.
HOA qualifications, right? Unless you're way out on the outskirts, you're going to have some sort of HOA that you're paying for.
My testing center was in Van Alstyne, and on the way there, I saw an advertisement for a new construction neighborhood, 1 acre lots, no HOA. And I'm like, oh,
Ooh,
that's crazy. I haven't seen a new construction neighborhood with no HOA like ever.
no. I mean, and you get everything from the minimal, like, hey, it's $300 a year to maintain the sign and put up Christmas lights, to it's $1,500 a year. We have a resort style pool and a bowling alley, and
Yep.
everything in between, right? So just make sure you know. So that's a thing on our FAQ. So keep running through our
Now,
list.
real quick, Zach, if you don't
Yeah.
mind, I'd like to actually circle back to the mud and pid for a minute
Ooh.
because for years, like I had actually never sold in a community that had a mud or pid. And I knew that was such a
Okay.
huge part of our marketing in neighborhoods that didn't. So I always assumed, okay, mud or pid is a bad thing. It means you're going to be paying more. Then when I finally got transferred to a community that did have that, I did more research on it and I figured out that the developers are having to pay for those improvements one way or another. And they're either
Correct.
putting it in the form of a tax like a mud or a PID, or they're building it into the price of the land, which means it's
Correct.
going to get translated to you as the buyer in the base price of the home. So just
Right.
because a community that you're interested in has a mud or a PID does not necessarily mean that it's going to be more expensive. You want to take a
Mhm.
look at what your monthly payment's going to look like, and that'll really tell you, is it going to be more expensive to live in neighborhood A or neighborhood B?
Right. And I think that's a good point. The point about costs getting passed along, because yeah, the few neighborhoods I've seen that don't have it, their base pricing ends up a little bit higher because they're having
Mhm.
to offset on the land cost, right? Because every developer runs their neighborhoods a little bit differently in terms of how they allot, or how they give lots to builders, whether they buy them on the front end, whether they bid for them, what they charge them to do what's called a takedown on that. And so, of course, that it all just it trickles down, right? Like, hey, we start at the top, and then they pay, so you pay, and we pay, and it's reflected somewhere in those pricing, right?
Mhm.
So, okay, we've talked muds and pids and taxes and all those things. Can we? What about this one? This is a funny one to me. Let's talk about gutters. People ask me all the time, we're like, gutters included? Should they be included? It's such a small thing, but it's such a significant thing. What do you think?
Yeah,
Included,
I
not
think
included?
gutters are an important thing for the long-term health of your foundation. So when I've
Hmm.
worked for builders or in communities where full gutters have not been standard, it's always been an upgrade that I recommend to
Yep.
people, and it's usually not that much money if you're doing it through the builder.
Yep.
So again, that's one of those questions that's just good to have in the back of your mind. Ask, is it standard? Is it not? How much does it cost to upgrade if I want to do full? I've seen it where it's just standard in the front. I've seen it where it's standard all the way around. I've seen it where there's none.
Yeah.
It just varies from builder to builder, community to community.
Well, and it varies based on the type of building you're getting in with, right? If you're getting into with somebody that has design selection options, whether you're buying inventory or buying build, you're probably more likely to get something like that from them, versus if you get into like one of the major production players that
Mhm.
won't sell you until it hits post frame stage and nothing has changed and it's all the same, you're probably not likely that it's going to have gutters. And so that's one of those things I think is a shocking thing for people. They're like, oh, I just assumed we would have gutters all the way around. And they're like, nope, we don't do that. Or it's like, yeah, you can do that. And it's $1,000 upgrade. But yeah, I always tell people, if you can do it with the builder and then just get it done, make it make sense.
Yeah, and if you can't get
Because
it done through the builder, just do it shortly after closing if you can. Just it really
here's
helps the
a,
longevity
a
of that
lot
foundation.
along the same vein of like weird things that you don't really think about until you think about them. Somebody asked me, what about a finish out in a garage? So
Mm.
some builders, so what's the norm? Do we get a full sheetrock texture paint trim? Do we just get texture? What do you think? What's the norm and the expectation in that one?
So every builder that I've worked for has been kind of that midline to a little bit higher level than that. I've never worked for one of the major production builders where there's like no changes, like you were just talking about with the gutters. Every builder I've worked for at that level has done sheetrock,
Hmm.
painted, no texture, and baseboards, which you think would not be important in a garage, but that's just what I've seen at the builders that I've worked for in the past. But it's not a given.
Yeah, okay, so this is one of those spaces for me that like it's a pet peeve. Like it perturbs me when I see when I walk into garages and it's like, oh, all we got was like drywall and it's like taped and mudded. And it's like
Yeah,
we didn't paint. Like, and I'm like, guys, the painter's already here. Just
with the spray
spray the
gun. Yeah.
yeah, like it's not I mean, again, somebody somewhere did a cost analysis study and determined that, hey, if we don't do this, people are still buying our house and they're not complaining, right? From a quality standpoint, it irks me when I walk
Yeah.
in and I'm like, guys, finish. You don't have to give me fancy, but finish the dang garage, like,
What does it
and
take, 20 minutes with the paint spray?
and by God, put a garage door opener in there. I walked some homes
Yeah.
recently, and I'm like, and the guy's like, yeah, the garage is unfinished and there's no garage door opener. I'm like, guys, I get it. Y'all are trying to make as much money as possible, but garage door opener is like $150. Put the
And
dang
it's
thing
not
in
like,
there.
how do you use your garage without it? Like, I mean, I guess
Yes.
maybe that dates
Like
me as
and
being young,
it
but
it
it's like,
it
come on.
goes to it just goes to the quality, and I'm big on, like, hey, quality, we get what we pay for, but it makes me so, like, I will soapbox on this of, like, just,
Yeah.
guys, finish the garage, put a garage door opener in,
Mhm.
and if
Some
they don't, if
builders won't include sod or fencing.
I know.
Like
I
you gotta pay extra to have grass in the backyard. I'm like, "For real?"
I know. So, I'm like, "Guys, come, it's just be better." That
Which I
I'm gonna
guess if you're on an extreme budget and you're like, "Okay, cool, I'll put grass seed down myself." Like, I guess there's a buyer for that, but yeah, I feel like it's
sure.
just
But
I feel like
also,
it's penny pinching.
it's very much penny pinching, and it's very much trying out from a builder's perspective, trying to get as much money out of it as you can. And again, it gets
Mhm.
reflected in some of, like, how somebody does one thing is how they do everything. And so when you see stuff like that, it's like, oh, this is what this experience is going to be like.
What other
We'll just leave.
corners are they cutting?
Correct. We'll leave it at that. Okay,
Mhm.
next one. If you are building, what's the likelihood that your move-in date is set in stone? Can it be
Mhm.
moved by months or even up to a year?
Yes, it can.
Yes.
It's
Like,
oh,
yeah,
yes, it can be
100%.
moved. No, it is not set in stone.
Nope. Mm-mm, never.
Yeah,
So
that would be
if
nice.
going back to the contract, when you read your builder contracts, most of them have language in there that say something to the extent of, we have up to 2 years to complete this house. There's some
Or
kind of,
a reasonable amount of time. They'll leave it vague
or
like
a
that on purpose because
yep, yep.
you don't know. You don't know before you start what market conditions are gonna be like, what the labor market's gonna be like, what the supply chain is doing. Like, there's so many factors, what weather's going to be doing. So there's
Yeah.
so much that goes into a home over such a long period of time. There's any number of delays that can happen along the road.
And I think we saw a lot of that through, 2020, 21, and 22 with COVID. We've gotten a little
Mhm.
better. Overall, I think here in
For
North
sure.
Texas, most builders are saying 6 to 9 months on build jobs is what most
Mhm.
most are saying.
Yeah.
But just be mindful of that. And I always tell people, like, you're not going to be surprised. Like, oh, we were supposed to close in April and we don't even have a roof, guys. You're not close. Like, it's not closing. It's just not.
No.
Most builders will be able to tell you, though, once we get to, like, cabinets and countertops going in, that usually opens up like a 60-day window when they can fairly confidently say, hey, we're probably 60 days from this house being done. And that's usually the starting point, right?
Zach and I think this was our second episode that we did. We did a whole episode on red flags and green flags when
Mm-hmm.
you're going the new construction route. And
Yep.
that makes me think of another one to add on there, another red flag. And that is if you're doing a build and your salesperson is super confident that they can get you in the home by a specific date.
Mm-mm.
Because there's no way they can know
Mm.
that. There's absolutely no way that they can know that with absolute
No.
certainty. So if you have someone's like, "Oh yeah, we could definitely get you in before school starts," like,
And unless
maybe,
that
maybe
unless that
not.
house is already being
Yeah,
started,
I'm talking about for a
All
build.
right,
If you're
let's
doing
do
a
it.
build, no,
Yep,
that's a red
ground up.
flag. If
Yeah.
they're yeah,
All right, let's start another one. Frequently asked question: can I get a better interest rate on new construction rather than mortgaging an existing home?
absolutely. That's one of the benefits of new construction. That's one of the
It's
things
literally the
Zach and I
best
are talking
benefit.
about all the time.
Yeah. Can I
Zach, you
get a
wanna take that
yes?
one away?
Yes, I will run with that one all day. Soapbox on the opposite direction of things that are good. I can definitely get a
Mhm.
better mortgage rate when it comes to new construction because builders have money already built into what they're offering an incentive to buy down those rates. So it's like when we're looking at the space, hey, interest rates are what they are and prices are what they are. Builders are bringing money to the table and say, hey, let's get it back down to somewhere that makes a little bit more sense, right? And in my opinion, and I don't know what I don't know, in my opinion, the moment we start seeing rates come down, prices will go up, which means builders will pull back on, and we'll have more competition. So builders will pull back on incentive. So
Mhm.
you're going to get you may get a lower rate, but you're going to pay a higher price and it's going to be a wash. Whereas right now you can look at not as much competition and builders are still incentivizing things like crazy. We're talking 15, 20, $25,000 in rate buy downs, closing costs. Yes, there's money there to make those things happen. So I would just, yes, that will leave it at yes. But
Yep.
along the same vein, do I have to use the in-house lender?
Do you have to? No. Legally, no. Should you? Yes.
Most
Yes, you
likely.
should.
Yeah. Most of the time that incentive money is going to be tied up in their preferred lending partner. So what you'll
Yeah.
see a lot of times in contracts is, hey, you've got $15,000 and 8 of it is tied to our preferred lender. So we'll tell, some builders will tell you straight up, hey, if you go outside, we'll welcome you to do that, but you're only getting, half of what we promised in incentive money. You're not getting all of it. Now I've had extenuating circumstances where in-house lending couldn't qualify somebody. We had to go outside because of some very unique circumstances,
Mhm.
and they gave us our full allotment. But that was a one-off. That was not the
Yeah.
norm.
Once in a blue
But
moon sort of thing.
yeah, usually they like, it's just so much simpler, and not
Mhm.
just in their lending, but like builders preferred partners in general, title company, lending. It just,
Yep.
do I have to use them? Technically, no. But does it make the process run smoother? Yes.
Mhm. I have done hundreds of deals across 4 different builders, and I'd say 90-95% of my buyers go in-house, and the
Yep.
5% that don't, it feels like it's inevitable that there's going to be some sort of last-minute headache.
Oh,
That
it
headache for me, yes, but primarily for the buyer
yeah,
is
it
running into
just
these
like I
last-minute
said,
issues that cause stress.
it just makes it go smoother. I mean, when you
Mhm.
can, for example, it's like when I closed a deal last week, we used preferred title, preferred lender, and it's like they got keys at the table because they were with the in-house team and they didn't have to
Yep.
wait on everything to fund because they know they like the lenders already cleared them to close. They've already wired their extra money. Like there's no waiting. It's hey, it's yours, it's done, we're
Mhm.
good because we're working with the in-house team. Yes, you don't have to, but it's highly preferred. There's a reason they're preferred relationships,
Yep.
right? Frequently asked question: should I get the third car garage?
Okay. There's strong opinions about this one way or the other. Personally, when I was working for a builder, it really depended on the cost of it. If you could do a tandem garage and it's actually going to make the
Mm,
price lower or it's already
mm,
included as a tandem, absolutely. I love my 3-car garage. We use that space 100%. Texas garages, like they're not built to be able to fit tools and lawn equipment and storage and 2 cars. Like they're just
yeah.
not. So I
So
do personally
you
love a
have a
3-car.
tandem three.
I have a tandem 3-car, yep,
Okay.
and we use that for storage, and then I'd say most of my prospective buyers that I worked with, whenever I would tell them, "Yeah, you can do it, but it's gonna be an additional 10 to 15 for the wider plot of land, and then an additional 15, 16 for the structural option itself." Most people
Hmm.
have said, "Oh, you know what? I don't really wanna pay an extra 30 grand for the
Yeah.
3-car."
We have a traditional three. Ours sit side by, we have a two and then a
Mhm,
single sitting next to it. Personally, I I will never build another house where we don't have at least 3-car garage. Like it was worth
mhm.
the expense just for being able to have storage and still get vehicles in the garage. Honestly, like if I ever build again, we'll have we will build a 4-car, just or a super garage of some sorts.
Yeah.
Um,
Once you're
but
used to one, you get spoiled with it, and you don't want anything else.
Oh, 100%. Once you're used to it, you definitely do not want anything but that. So,
Mhm.
I would it all depends on your budget. I would say in my mind, it's a priority, spend the money, but yeah, it's not just the garage, it's making sure the lot is wide enough or going
Mhm.
with a tandem 3, which in some plans it's like standard in a tandem 3, some of them it takes out like a media room or a game
Or
room,
study.
uh, or a study. Again, it's just if it's based on your needs, but personally, I'm a third car garage fanboy
And I like,
of
I'd say if
sorts.
you're a first time buyer, It does not need to be a priority for you. Let's save
No,
that
no, this is
for the second or
house
third
2,
house.
3, 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is an interesting one, and I'm gonna ask you this in 2 parts because I got this question 2 different ways. And somebody said, "With my current home, we asked about the quality of our cabinetry and trim work. We were expecting those to be made of real and solid wood." Talk me through that. What do you think?
I think that that's an unrealistic expectation, depending on
Mm,
the price point. I mean, if you're talking really like custom luxury, then yeah, maybe. But most builders are going to have MDF for the
mhm.
baseboards, for the trim. The cabinetry, it depends. If it's stained, it might be poplar, knotty alder, maple, one of those. But often the center board is still either an MDF or an HDF, which is a little bit higher quality. It's high density fiber board,
Yep.
but the paint grade is typically going to be poplar frames and boxes and an MDF or HDF center panel. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's varying degrees of quality even within that description. You look for the little details, I'd say, but even my cabinets, which I feel like are of a really decent quality, they're starting to show some wear and tear after being in the house for a couple of years.
Yeah, like I said, I think unless you're doing high-end custom, we're not most builders are not doing solid wood cabinetry. It's just not a thing. So the follow-up
Mhm.
question to that, and I'm interested for your perspective on this because I think I've got an analogy for this one. How much information are you given about the materials being used in your house before signing a contract?
You're given the information. It might not be before the contract, it might be at contract. That's gonna be included
Mhm,
in the contract package. It
mhm,
depends on how important that is to you. There's a personality type that is investigator, they're analytical, they're engineer types, and they wanna read every single line of the included features. And there's other people that they couldn't care less, it'll put them to sleep. So you do have access to that information. Even if that you aren't given it before it's time to sign the contract, you can ask for it. They'll give it to you.
yep.
If you want to request building specifications or just the standard marketing sheet, you can request that information at any time and review it.
And that'll have the like what they're doing in those homes. As far as like material specific stuff, that's honestly, it's getting really granular. And I don't know that like with a bigger production builder, I don't know that you're going to get that. Like you might, but my analogy is always you're familiar with the company Cisco, right? Like Cisco does a ton of different. They're big in like the restaurant space, and
Mhm.
Cisco sells to everybody from McDonald's to Four Winds Steakhouse and everything in between, right? So it's the same kind of thing, like in terms of material. Most builders are buying relatively similar grade material. You would agree?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hey, this is the brick we're buying, this is the wood we're buying, this is our insulate. Like most of them are buying from the same suppliers. So think Cisco is what my thought is like, and Cisco provides to everybody from McDonald's to like the high end steakhouses and everything in between. Builders, same kind of thing. They're pulling from the same material depots. They're pulling from the same labor pools. What changes in quality, in my opinion, is the quality control that happens throughout the process, I think is a big deal.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Quality control. There can be a difference between construction methods. Things like you might find like advanced framing, or maybe they use a higher quality sheathing or something like that. Like there might be those little differences here and there, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think the quality control, the person who's actually on site doing the build, supervising the build, is going to make one of the
And
biggest differences.
maintaining their labor pool, right? Because I mean, we
Hmm.
we know it, like labor shortages are hard. And here's
Yeah.
the thing I'll tell you on this, because I had somebody ask me one time. They're like, "Hey, I want to interview every like tradesman that's going to touch my house. Like I want to know that they're good quality. I want to know their name." Like I'm just going to tell you, you're not like they're not going to give you that information.
No.
Um I mean, the big name, like most companies have big names that cover the major stuff, HVAC, plumbing, electrical. It's usually a big
Hmm.
name, reputable company, and they have massive contracts across all these different communities. Like, I'm sorry, but like if you're building with production style building, like anything that's not full custom, you're not going to have the ability to vet everybody that the
Mm-mm.
builder's hiring. There's a reason you're hiring that builder, and if you want that, you need to do something on your own. Like that's probably me being harsh, but it's me being honest.
No, it's I'd rather hear the honest answer personally, even if it is a little bit harsh, but yeah, you're not gonna know the painter, the sheetrocker, the framer, like that
The
stuff.
bricker,
Even
yeah.
as a salesperson, I didn't know any of that information.
Yeah. No, and it's like I said, it's that they don't have time to mess with it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Let's do I got two more, and they kind of center around the model home and the salesperson. So
Okay.
model homes, what I see in the model home gonna be what I get in my house?
No.
Mm,
Usually
mm-mm,
not. Yeah,
usually
they're
not.
gonna put usually at least the higher end of what the average buyer is gonna put in. Sometimes they'll put in an additional 100,000 or 200,000. Like, when they do
Depends on the
that, that's a
builder.
little bit of a red flag for in my personal
Yep.
opinion. But
Yep.
no, and they'll do custom walls, they'll do custom lighting. Like, there's a lot of custom designer stuff in the model. So I would say if you're looking, look at the model. Sure, get some
Mhm.
ideas, see what the finished product looks like, but walk through some inventory homes as well,
Yeah.
at various stages, and see what it
And
looks
the
like
cool
without all the bells and whistles.
And the cool thing about that is even if the house is sold, like if somebody hasn't like closed on it, like if it's under contract
Mhm.
and they haven't closed yet, like most of the time the sales reps will let you walk those houses, like just to
Yep.
get some perspective. Or, a lot of times if you're looking at a bigger builder that's in multiple communities and you're trying to pick a floor plan that they don't have on the
Mhm.
ground, a lot of times they can send you, be like, hey, I know you want to build in Anna, but we actually have 3 of these homes on the ground in Rockwall. Like, just go out
Yep.
there and like check it out, right? Or hey, this is
And it's
this
worth the drive.
countertop. Yeah, and 100%, it's worth the drive. Hey,
Mhm.
we did that. It was like there was counter when we were looking at countertops. It was like, well, these countertops exist in this model home over here, and I'm like, okay, I want to drive over there and see them before I commit to them. So yeah, the
Mhm.
model home is good to see the potential of like you of everything that you could ever do, but ask to walk like some completed specs or some completed inventory to go along with that. So last
Yep.
question I think we'll do today. Can I trust the in-house salesperson to represent me as a buyer, or do I need my own representation? Does that cost me anything, or do I save money if I don't have a realtor?
Okay. So that's a few questions.
It's a lot.
The
Sorry, it's
first
all
the first is, can you trust the salesperson? Number 1, I would say if you from the get-go, like when you're getting ready to sign the contract, if you do not trust that person, you're going to have a bad time.
yep.
So, it is still important to work with somebody that you like, that you trust, that you feel like you're in good hands with. But at the end of the day, that salesperson represents the builder.
Yep.
They do not represent you as the buyer. When I was a salesperson, I cared very deeply for my buyers. I think this is a little bit of a misconception that, like, no, they don't care about you at all. Like, I
They do.
cared very deeply. I would go to bat for my buyers with management. Like, I wanted to make sure that my buyers were being treated well, but you're not always going to get that.
Yep.
So, if you do have representation from a realtor, then they have a legal fiduciary duty to you to represent your interests, not their own interests, not the
Correct.
builder's interests. They're there for you. And they have a wealth of
Correct.
experience in this area, hopefully, to be able to help guide you through that process and stay consistent through the process. Because your builder might change, your salesperson might change throughout the process. And it's good to have at
Yep.
least one person who's been there the whole time.
Throughout the whole thing. Correct. And yeah,
Mhm.
I would say that's the again, we want to trust the people, but your realtor is your representation. And yeah, salespeople do care about their people, like genuinely. There's some that don't. There's some that are terrible, but
There's some that
majority
don't.
of them, the majority of them are honestly really good people, and they care about their people.
Mhm.
And I'll hit the last two. Does it cost me anything? Usually, it does not. Most of the time, builders put marketing money behind because they recognize that a majority of their homes are sold by realtors bringing in people, bringing in clients. So there's marketing money separate from the budget of your house that pays for your representation. Usually, that
Mhm.
is most of the time true. Secondarily, we hit this in the red flag episode. If a builder tells you you will save money by not having a realtor, run far, far away. That is the just run away. It's not. You're not. It's shady. It's sketchy. It's whatever adjective you want to attach to that. Don't.
Yeah. And we can talk about the NAR settlement in a completely different episode, but
We
one
should.
one of the things that I've been hearing coming out of that is like, okay, well, maybe as a buyer, now you're gonna have to pay the realtor. Maybe. We'll see how that shakes out. But I feel like in the new construction space, I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see that builders are going to be continuing to pay the buyer's agent.
I think builders are going to be in a space where, again, they recognize that realtors bring in a lot of business for them,
Yeah.
and they recognize the value of representation. I do think, like, if you're another realtor listening to this, I think personally builders are going to move to. So some builders right now do bonus programs, and I think those are going to change. I think it's going to be more based on volume of sales with those particular builders, and the expectation that you're bringing the right value. So I would
Mhm.
we'll wrap this episode up with this. Like, if you're going to buy new construction, you want somebody that works in that space that knows what they're doing. The same reason is if you were going to buy rental properties, or you were going to buy vacation homes, or you were going to buy condos, find the people that specialize in the thing that you want to do and work with them,
Mhm.
because they're in that space, they're in those conversations, they have those relationships, they know what's going on. And if you need help with that, Megan and I would love to help you. We are
I was
here
just thinking
to
that.
make that happen. To make it happen. I mean, that's why that's why we're doing the podcast. That's why putting out resources. It's like, hey, if you are in the DFW market looking to buy or build, or moving into the DFW market looking to buy or build, we would love to be a part of that conversation with you, walk you through that process, and make it happen with you. So yeah.
Absolutely. Mhm.
So that wraps us up for today. I want to give you guys some exciting things that we've got planned. We're working behind the scenes to bring in some really top level interviews coming soon. I think we're working on some stuff with some construction managers, some lenders. I've got some inspectors that I'm trying to roll in that we want to interview, ask questions, and give you guys value and resources. Some other sales reps for some different builders. I'm not going to mention any
Mhm.
names yet, but all of these things where we can get people involved in this conversation to help you with this buying process and make it as smooth as possible to get you into those dream homes. So we're excited for that. Continue to
Yep.
hang
Make
out
sure you're
with us.
subscribed.
Yep. Make
If
sure
you want to see
you're
those.
doing that. You can follow us on all the socials. If you've missed any episodes, go back and check them out, especially if you missed the one where Megan makes her announcement, because that not only just the announcement, but the conversation around just burnout, mental health, and some of the amazing things that is going on with Megan. Like, if you missed that episode, that's one to go back and listen to. I'm just putting it out there. It's really
Thank
good.
you.
So we will thank you for hanging out. We will see you for our next one next week. Bye.
All right. Bye.